Oh, hello, Jeff and Sue. Sorry to hear you're not feeling well, Jeff, but glad to hear that you're not so sick that you can't do drinks with Kate. It's a bit cold. It's a bit smoky here. It looks cold outside, and then when you go out, it's not that cold. But there's apparently a fire in Frankston that's creating a lot of smoke, so it's all a bit thing. How is everyone? Good to see you. I know there's a few of you out there, probably all madly throwing duck tacos together, which is what Peter's doing for me at the moment. I've got Jill and Richard away on holidays. Oh dear, get your necklace right, Kate. I'm feeling a little bit out of control today, but that's all right. You're used to me being out of control. Hello, Fiona. How are you? Okay, well, this is like box 2, the end of wine 6 of box 2. Hello, Sarah and all the tricks. Good to see you. Hello, Kevin. And Emily's away in Sydney. That's right. You did tell me that. Actually, I'm going to do a little pre-announcement. I did mention this last week, but now I have a prop. So next week, we're going to be doing mezcal that Kevin and his business partners bring in. He just delivered it today. So if you've ordered some, it's on its way to you. If you've ordered it with Kevin. If you haven't ordered it, then you've probably still got time to order a bottle with him and hopefully get it by next Thursday. I think it's very lovely. And Gerardo, who is Kevin's business partner, is going to come and help me talk to you about all things agave spirit and mezcal. So that's exciting for next week. But in the meantime, this week, hello, Sonia. Happy end to box 2, indeed. So it is a very nice place to finish this box, and I did this on purpose. So we're finishing up with the Moorooduc McIntyre Pinot 2015. So 2015 is a beautiful vintage. I guess Kevin's saying that those of you who have sent him orders, they're all on their way to you now. So that's fantastic. Yes, we'll talk about that more after we've tasted some Pinot because, I think Australia Post should be able to get a bottle of mezcal to you in 5 working days. Still, might be a bit touch and go, but, hey. Hello, Nareem and Keely. Nareem and Keely out for dinner tonight, but Jean's tuning in. Hello, Jean. How are you doing? Glad to hear that you're in. Pete's throwing tacos together. I need to get this into a decanter. I think, hello, Paul and Roz. How are you? Lovely to see you. I've got Sue and Daryl here live, which is very exciting. Come over to help me. Jill and Richard are away. They've come over to help me with the cats, and Polly, who went to the vet yesterday and had 2 teeth extracted. So she's a little bit wussy. Hopefully she won't have a mad barking moment tonight. She's a bit tired. She's been a bit stumbly all day. So just giving that quite a quick decant. I'm going a bit slowly because I'm not feeling confident that if I go faster that I won't spill it on the computer. But it's not an old wine. It's not a young wine, but it's not an old wine, if that makes sense. So we're just giving it a little decant to wake it up just before we put it in the glass. Into the decanter, into a glass, a Pinot glass for me. I'll just pop that over there for Sue and Daryl to come and help themselves. And that sounds pretty good. Go for it. Right. Pinot Noir 2015. I've got people talking in the kitchen with the door open, which is very distracting. Thank you, Daryl. Daryl's going to close the door because he understands how easily distracted I am. Hello, Jack and Zach. Good to see you. Nareem, you do need to put your order in with Kevin. Send him an email right now while we're doing Drinks with Kate. And things are buzzing. Jeremy's there. Okay, cool. Excellent. Jeff, you're having it with freshly caught muddies. Crab homemade pasta. Well, that will be very interesting because I personally would probably drink Chardonnay with mud crab normally. But depending on what else you put in there, it could be absolutely delicious. Chili crab is going to also maybe fight with the Pinot a little bit. Give it a go. Be prepared to put the Pinot aside or the chili crab aside and eat them and drink them separately as well. So let us know how they go. Cotty and John, how are you going? Overstuff the tortillas. It's very easy to do. Very easy to overstuff your tacos. But as long as you've got a plate underneath and a serviette to wipe your fingers with, then you'll be fine. Right. So getting lots of air into that wine. Okay. It's still quite closed, and it's hello Sue, you're on television. Sorry. Sue's worrying about the cats. They'll come in when they're ready, Sue, honestly. They've been coming in at about 9 o'clock. Okay. So don't stress. Okay. Go and sit down and have a glass of wine. Jill and Richard are away, and I think that Sue doesn't think I know how to look after cats. So she's helping, which is very kind of her. I got mauled by boy cat last night, if you can see the welts on my hand, because I'm a little bit allergic to cats. And when they scratch me, it comes up quite excitingly. So, and it's very itchy. Anyway, wine will help. Okie doke. Pinot Noir, 2015, McIntyre Vineyards. So 2015 was a really lovely vintage for pretty much everyone on the Mornington Peninsula. So it wasn't one of those years that if you were really careful, you could make a beautiful wine, or if you were really lucky and missed that thunderstorm, then you can make a really good wine. I think 2015 it wasn't a hot year. It was quite a cool year, but it had all the right weather at all the right times. And we really loved the 2015s. Those of you who were at the lunch a couple of Sundays ago will have had the other two 2015 single vineyard Pinots, which was sort of my plan to kind of give you the trio over a couple of weeks. And so we tasted the Robinson and the Garden Vineyard from 2015, and they were looking beautifully grown up. They weren't overly mature. They'd come together beautifully, very harmonious, looking really lovely right now, and with the potential to age for probably another at least 5 years, probably 10 years. So how's this wine looking? It's taking a while to open up. I don't know if other people's wine is a little bit closed at the moment. Keep it moving. There we go. It's just popped. It's like one of those, those kids' toys that you stick down and they've got a little spring and they wait and wait and wait and then they go pop. That's what this has just done. It's just opened up. It's got for me a beautiful sort of complex cherry nose. And what I mean by that is there's some dark cherry and there's some dried cherries and there's a little bit of almost cherry cordial kind of aromatic there, or cherry liqueur aromatic there, which is rather lovely. Hello, Shell. 18-year-old me would have thought a day of meetings with Tokyo, the US, and London is super sexy, but in reality, it's exhausting. Very good that you made it finally, Shell. Cheers to the end of all of your crazy meetings, hopefully, and a lovely, relaxing glass of Pinot. So all that cherry fruit's just gone boing. All of a sudden, it's really beautiful and complex, and is sort of swirling around in the glass with the wine. There's some really lovely savoury notes that have evolved in this wine as well. And for me, it's hard to, there's a thing in there that's really hard to describe. And I think we've talked about this before. I know Alison's not here tonight, and I think that she and I had a bit of a same kind of a moment with one of these Pinots in the past. But we talked about the Callard and Bowser Nougat, which some of you will remember if it was a part of your childhood. We always had it at Christmas, and it was quite soft nougat, and it was quite vanilla-y, almondy nougat, but it had these cherries in it, and they were sort of they weren't. I don't know what they'd done to the cherries, but they were like glacé cherries or preserved cherries or something. They're kind of really pink and quite candied in their character. And there's a smell on the nose of this wine for me of all of those things. There's sort of a bit of an almondy, savoury note. There's that sort of vanilla-y, slight honey note, which I don't often see on a Pinot Noir, and it's very subtle here, but it's that sort of candied cherry, and there's almost a raspberry confectionery note on there, and it makes it sound like it's very sweet, but it's not at all. It's got all of those sort of threads of aroma, but then there's a really lovely savoury, mushroomy, earthy note, and then there's some herbs that are just starting to come up. A little bit of there's a little bit of thyme, a little bit of rosemary, but it's sort of like those hard-leafed herbs like thyme and rosemary. There's a little bit of sage in there that have been chopped up and just kind of rubbed over a piece of duck or a piece of beef and then slow roasted, and you've got that sort of roasty meat juice aromatic coming through the herb, and sort of softening the herbs and making the herbs more evolved, not green, not raw herbs, but cooked, slightly meaty herbs. I hope I'm making some sense, because I feel like I'm kind of channeling this wine. As it changes, again, it gets a little bit more minerally kind of aromatic there, a sort of a little... It's amazing, isn't it, Cody? Because it's got that cherry, and I haven't even put it in my mouth yet, so I think I should probably do that. So again, you've got that kind of almost sour cherry and that Caledon Bowser cherry flavour right at the front of the mouth, and then it goes savoury and mushroomy at the back. And it's a real... Again, we were talking last week about umami and umami bombs and how those kind of umami-flavoured foods work really well with umami-flavoured wine. And for me, this wine's very umami. It does have that meaty, savoury, mushroomy kind of character, and it just makes my mouth water. It's so deliciously juicy, but also savoury, that it's crying out for food as far as I'm concerned. But it's also the sort of wine that makes you want to go right back in and stick your nose back in it and have another sip of it and sort of explore it that way. And I think that's a really good sign of a good Pinot from a good vintage with the right amount of age on it. Shell's saying that the hoisin sauce and vegan duck made it taste very earthy and herby, and I think that's right. You put that kind of... the hoisin sauce has got that sweetness and tanginess to it, and then the duck flavours are quite meaty, savoury, and it does bring out the earthiness and herbal notes. Pete's still constructing our hybrid duck tacos, which I'd be really interested to see how they go, because I thought, a little bit of Asian flavour, a little bit of Mexican flavour, throw it all together. I think it could work really well with this wine. And Jeremy, hello Jeremy, lovely to see you. I agree. Jeremy's saying it's one of his very favourite wines that we've ever made, and it's one of my very favourite wines that we've ever made too. And we don't really have very much in the museum, but we've got enough to do this every now and again, which I think is lovely. So Fiona, you're having it with Chinese takeaway with braised veg, tofu, and wood ear mushrooms. So yes, there's a bit of that wood ear mushroom kind of Asian mushroom aromatic in this wine as well. You're having Peking duck entree, excellent. So yeah, and I think one of my theories about our Pinots is that in cooler years they have more Asian spice characters, and in warmer years they have more Moroccan spice characters. And I think this wine fits that little rule that I made up a few years ago, and it reinforces that, because 15 was a cooler year, and it's got that lovely intensity of fruit and the savouriness of that mushroomy note that's coming through, but and the herbs, but it's also got it's got this lovely kind of soy note. Soy sauce. There's a little bit of star anise in there, almost a Chinese 5-spice kind of character, and that's why I thought it might go really well with Peking duck. duck in general, but that sort of that sweet and savoury sauce on a Peking duck, I think could be really lovely with this. So I'd be very interested to see how that goes. How's it going with your Peking duck entree, Fiona? Is it working? Or did it work? Paul and Roz. Oh, Shell, you're using leftover roti for your base. Excellent. I love it when we you know, mix up the different all the different traditions to make yummy food. It went well, Fiona. Excellent. Paul and Roz, it is a really special Pinot, and yeah, good. I'm glad you're seeing that little bit of five spice, and it's really rather wonderful. Jackie, what are you saying? Wine's beautiful. We have duck too, but cheated a bit. Got the lava duck Peking pancakes. Five spice wine is coping okay with it. Good. Well, cheating is fine. Peter is heating up some lava duck slow cooked Peking duck breasts for us. And I think that, you know, it's always lovely to make things slowly and from scratch, but we all have busy lives, and it's a Thursday night. It's not the weekend. So sometimes we need to cut corners, and I think that's a very good product. So good work. Oh, Fiona, you've got some Chinese barbecue pork, which would be gorgeous with this too. All those kind of sweet, meaty, juicy, savoury flavours all coming together. Sonia, Karen, and Peter, hello, hello. King brown mushrooms on toast for entree, Peking duck for main. Excellent, excellent. Gosh, this one, it's getting more spicy as it opens up in the glass. How's it going over there at the other table? You enjoying it? Good. Be nice when the food comes out too, won't it? Yeah, don't worry about it. They will come home. They've been staying away until all the other people go away, and it's just me and Polly, and then they come back. The cherry's coming back, and then I'm getting this little salted plum character coming through as well. And I know I just talked about Chinese flavors, but there's some Japanese kind of aromatics in there as well, which I think is rather lovely. A lot of people talk about our Pinot Noir, and I often see it, and I'm seeing it just in a very small way, a little bit of a citrus character coming through our Pinots, and particularly the McIntyre Pinot. And there's a little bit of almost blood orange kind of coming up, which might sort of tie in with that sour cherry character that I'm saying, or the salted plum. It's like it's fruity, but it's also quite tangy acid-wise. And that's what makes it so mouth-wateringly delicious, I reckon. Now, I know Kay's not with us because she had a car rally this week. I think she said she was in Noosa, but I could be getting my places mixed up. I haven't seen the Goodmans yet either, so maybe they're away. But I think this is a wine that yeah, I'm really excited to share with you. And I'd be interested for those of you who maybe have had. Rolls-Royce has a rally there. Okay, Paul and Roz, I think that's what she's doing, because she is definitely a Rolls-Royce lady, and she said she had a car rally, so that'll be it. John says Kinoto like. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think that, you know, when we talk about aromas that the wine reminds us of, I think those Italian Italian and I'm thinking Kinoto being a bitter Italian orange. I'm thinking almost there's a little bit of yuzu, kind of that little bit of mandarin kind of, but more sour than that coming through. And it's, you know, I think that the brilliance of a lot of Italian soft drinks and amari and wines is that they have this lovely balance of sweet fruit and bitterness and a little bit of sourness, but the bitterness is really important. And I think that this is something that we find with our Pinots from Moorooduc. Oh, here comes my taco. Thanks, Pete. I'm not sure how I'm going to eat this elegantly, but it looks rather awesome here. Let me show you. It's the size of my head. But doesn't it look fabulous? Oh, Joan, you're on your own. Craig and Karen have gone overseas. Of course they have. Scotch and soda. Well, cheers to that, Joan. Good to see you, though. Thank you for checking in, keeping me up to date with what's going on. I'm a bit scared of this taco. I'm just going to take a little bit of the duck, first of all, off the edge and just have a little nibble on that. So, Peking duck. It will have to be eaten messily, Fiona, absolutely. Peking duck, bit of sriracha, bit of Kewpie mayonnaise. We're being very multicultural here tonight. The flavours are fantastic. And the duck really brings out the earthiness in the wine, as Shell said, with your vegetarian duck. So obviously they've done well with their flavours. It makes it, it kind of damps down the fruit a little bit and brings out the spice and the savouriness in the wine, which is rather lovely. The other things that are in my taco that are going to make it really tricky is a bit of cabbage salad, which I think might be a bit more difficult with the wine, but not bad. It's just cabbage, onion, bit of lemon juice, salt and pepper, olive oil, and some char grilled corn, which on its own you wouldn't really think to match to Pinot. But I really like corn. I really like corn with Pinot Noir because it's one of those vegetables. Thank you, Peter. It's one of those vegetables that is. Pete's brought me some finger wipers. Corn's one of those vegetables that has a lot of flavour and a lot of sweetness. And I think a lot of people get a bit scared of trying to match corn to wine because of that sweetness. But the corn flavour actually works really, really nicely with Pinot Noir. And I think that the combination of the corn with the duck and the salad and the mayonnaise and the sriracha, I think is going to work quite well. So I'm going to have a go. Hang on a sec. I sound like a New Zealand. I don't know who I am anymore. New Zealand Kate. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, so that's my excuse for not being able to speak this week. I've got a little bit of lime that I can squeeze on it too, but I think I might just leave that. So I'm going to dive in. Oh, my God, this is going to be... So, Cotty, you said that you thought you'd overfilled yours. I think we have a similar problem here. But bear with me. I'm going to try and take a little bite. Getting all the flavours. And the corn tortilla is really important in there. And I think it works with the wine. The corn and the corn tortilla brings out the acid in the wine, makes it a bit more of that sort of blood orange juice kind of flavour. The Peking duck, I think, is definitely a winner with the wine. But again, brings down the fruitiness, brings up the savouriness and the mushroominess and the earthiness. But the salad and the corn and the chili and the mayonnaise kind of bring up the fruitiness as well. So kind of all the different bits of the taco seem to pull out different bits of the wine and bring them all up so that you're actually looking at a balanced wine with that balanced complexity of the taco with the Mexican/Chinese flavors going through it. It's really intriguing, really fun, really delicious. And I know that probably Cotty and John are struggling with typing and eating their tacos at the same time. But how did your tacos go with your wine? Do you agree, or do you think it doesn't work, or does it work in different ways? Because I think one of the things that I always struggle with, I adore Mexican food, but I find it quite hard to match to wine because there's not a Mexican tradition of wine with Mexican food. It's tequila, it's mezcal, it's beer, it's cocktails, not so much wine. So I like, personally, mostly to drink wine. And I do like, every now and again, I like a bit of mezcal, a bit of tequila, a bit of, bit of a cocktail, bit of a margarita. Very happy with that. We'll talk about that more next week. But normally I like to have a glass of wine with my meal. And so it's that kind of crossing over of the cultures and trying to make the wine and the food work together. So did you want a serviette? No, right. You're right? Okay, cool. Excellent. Well done. And I think it's worked this time, so that's really cool. Fiona is saying you'd be nervous about sriracha and wine. I think sriracha can overwhelm the wine quite quickly. Peter hasn't put too much on here, and I think that the sweetness and the creaminess of the Kewpie mayonnaise actually counteracts the fieriness of the sriracha. I think you need to be. I think we need to be a little bit. Excuse me. I think we need to be a little bit careful with take the whole roll with you, Daryl. Could get messy over there. I think we have to be careful with chili spice with Pinot, but I think if you're lucky, you can make it work quite well. And my personal experience of kind of use smoked spicy paprika instead of chipotle, so softer, yes. And I think that's good. I mean, it's about, I think that trying to make these sort of cuisines work with wine that maybe isn't made to naturally match with it. It's really easy to match French wine with French food. It's really easy to match Italian wine with Italian food. And it's really joyous doing that. And I do that more often than trying to kind of push the boundaries. But I'm hopefully softening you guys up a little bit for the next box, where we're going to do some little experiments with different flavors that are maybe not expected to work brilliantly with wine, and maybe see how we can kind of modify them or tame them to work with the wines that we're going to be drinking in box 3. So hopefully I don't take that too far. Thank you, Daryl. And hopefully we'll find some really fun wine and food matches that we might not have quite been brave enough to try on our own. So that's my plan for the next box. And I think even smoked paprika is softer than chipotle, but you get the smokiness and you get the bitterness from the smokiness in paprika that you don't get in chipotle. So that's a different challenge for the wine, that bitterness from the smoke in the paprika and the drying of the paprika. And it can work well, but you need to get the amounts, the quantities right, and balance it with other flavors in the food. My story I was going to tell you about spice and Pinot Noir is not about the 2015 Pinot Noir, but another really delicious vintage that was particularly delicious when it was a bit younger, but we were quite excited about it at the time. It was 2010, and I have an American friend who was doing some work for Wine Australia over in America, and he and his partner came out to Australia partly for holidays, partly for work, and they had a couple of nights off in Melbourne, and they gave me a call and said, come and meet us at Dainty Szechuan, which, for those of you who know Dainty Szechuan, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know this restaurant, it's the Szechuan restaurant in Melbourne. It's in Toorak Road in South Yarra, and Anthony Bourdain went there and said it was the best Szechuan food that he'd had outside of Szechuan in China. It's really hot food, really spicy food, outrageous amounts of chili, outrageous amounts of garlic. It's the sort of food that you imagine is guaranteed to kill all wine. And in fact, traditionally you would drink beer with this food, because the beer will sort of cool your mouth down a little bit after all the spice. But this friend of mine, he said, bring a bottle of the McIntyre Pinot and Chardonnay, because we weren't exporting the wine to America at the time. He'd had it before. He wanted to drink it because he couldn't get it in America. And I said, oh, that's ridiculous. You know, we're going to a Szechuan restaurant. And he said, I won't be eating any of the food. I'll drink the wine. You guys can eat, and everyone will be happy. So I kind of trepidatiously took these wines. And 2010 was quite a warm year. The wines were quite vibrant and rich and full-bodied. But they were still Moorooduc Pinot and Chardonnay. They still had good acid. They still had good tannins. They had good structure. They were a bit softer and rounder and richer than this wine. Even so, I was like, oh, well, the wine's going to be dreadful with the food. And the food came along, and we had the kung pao chicken, or whatever it's called, which is like little bits of chicken spare rib, absolutely buried in dry chilies. And you kind of pick the chicken out, and the chicken's been sort of baked in this bed of dried chilies. It's outrageous. Delicious, incredibly spicy. And I just went, oh, well, I guess, you know, I'll see how the wine copes with the food, because I was interested. And the Chardonnay didn't really cope very well, which didn't surprise me at all. But the Pinot Noir, which I also thought was going to be completely smashed by the food, actually was quite delicious with this spicy food. It didn't taste the same as it tastes when you have it with more respectful food to the wine, but it stood up to it. And the chili actually brought out the fruitiness, and weirdly, the flavours in the Szechuan dishes seem to just kind of soften out the tannins. And I don't understand really why that happened, because I've always been taught that spicy food, particularly spicy chili, hot food, will make tannin more aggressive and will kind of blunt the fruitiness, but it seemed to do the opposite. So probably there were other ingredients at play in these dishes that sort of balanced out the Szechuan chili and the Szechuan pepper. And even the Szechuan pepper that has a numbing effect on your mouth didn't block the Pinot. It kind of almost made space for the Pinot. It kind of numbed your mouth from the pepper, and then the Pinot was kind of like this cool river of juicy cherry fruit coming through and just kind of making everything happy again. So it's not something that I would do every day, and I prefer not to challenge my wines quite that strongly with quite such outrageous food matches. But I think that sometimes it's worth just having a go and seeing what might work. And if it doesn't, then you can put the food aside and drink the wine on its own, or put the wine aside and eat the food and then drink the wine afterwards. But every now and again, crazy wine and food matches can really surprise me. And Fiona, I know we've had this conversation particularly about chili sauce and wine, and how they can really kind of fight each other. And usually they do, but for some reason, this food actually worked. I think it was still really hot, and I still remember it just being a bit of a challenge for me by the end of the night. And the only dish that didn't have chili on it, and I remember this very strongly because I ate quite a lot of it, was batons of peeled and cube-like batons of cucumber that had the peel taken off, absolutely smothered in raw garlic paste. So like this raw garlic, the sauce over the top was just macerated garlic cloves. There was probably a bit of salt in there, and this was supposed to be the sort of the antidote to the chili, and I ate quite a lot of that garlic cucumber on that night, and it did seem to rectify the excessive burning of the chili. I don't think I would have had any problems with vampires for a few days afterwards because it was coming out of every pore. But it was delicious. So there you go. How's this wine opening up? I'm going to give myself a little bit more of a pour. I don't know if you're still there, Jeremy, if you've got anything that you wanted to add about this. I know you're probably cooking dinner and dealing with homework and all sorts of exciting things, but do feel free to chip in if you've got anything smart to say about 2015 that I've forgotten to mention. While we don't have any of this wine to really on sell, apart from putting it in a Drinks with Kate box every now and again and having it at the occasional Jill's lunch, and we'll probably see this. I'm thinking about possibly putting it in the next lunch, which I think is nearly sold out. I think we've got 2 spots left. Last I looked at the book. So that's not this Sunday, but the Sunday after that. But the next lunch that we'll be almost definitely looking at this wine along with some other vintage of McIntyre Pinot is the lunch on King's birthday weekend, where we're looking at a retrospective of McIntyre vineyard wines. So that'll be fun. That said, you guys have all tasted it tonight, so you don't need to worry about it. The Robinson 2000, no, I'll come back to that in a minute. The Garden Vineyard 2015 that we tasted last weekend was absolutely delicious, and all of the sort of the green notes that we see in that wine when it's young had softened out, and it had just become incredibly harmonious, absolutely stunning. And if you've got some 2015 Garden Vineyard Pinot in your cellar, lucky you. You can start drinking it now very happily, but it will do good things for quite a long time to come. We've got even less of that in our museum than we have of the McIntyre Pinot, so I can't sell you any now, but if you've got some, then that was a good buy. The 2015 Robinson Pinot Noir, however, we do have a little bit that I'm going to put in the next box. You've got box 3, doesn't have it in it. It'll probably go in box 4 or box 5, but we're going to have a look at that sometime later in the year. We have drunk it before. It's rather delicious, but I'll definitely show that to wine to you. And I think as a vintage, 2015 is incredibly joyous and delicious and wonderful. Kevin, you've got quite a few, and Magnum of Garden 2015. Good work. That was a good buy. That I would hold on to the Magnum for a bit longer, because remember the Magnums age much more slowly and age for much longer. So I'd hold on to that Magnum. It'll drink well now, but it'll probably be even more magnificent in sort of 3 to 6 years' time. Jeff wants to know, what type of cheeses do I think might work with this Pinot? Hard sheep's milk cheese. So Osso Arati is a French cheese that I think would be delicious with this wine, with just a little bit of cherry jam. Manchego with just a little bit of quince paste would also be delicious with this wine. I think steer well clear of anything blue. I probably would also be a little bit wary of soft white mold cheeses, but something that's like a really ripe brie or camembert style could work with this. Washed rind cheese I'd stay away from as well. So I would say semi-hard to hard sheep's milk cheese. Possibly a hard goat's milk cheese could work. But yeah, it's a sort of a hard cheese. Don't put it with cheddar. Cheddar will kind of smash it. It's too salty and too tangy. So yeah, it's finding those kind of medium-bodied cheeses that have got that sort of softness of a sheep's milk cheese. The spice is coming out. I think we have a cat who's thinking about possibly coming in. There she comes. So Shasha's in. You'll all be pleased to know. Hello, Shasha. Tallulah, don't chase the cat. It's all happening here. Jill and Richard, if you're there, one of your cats is in. I think they're actually, Jill and Richard are away on holiday, and I think they're at a fancy restaurant for dinner tonight. But you can leave that door open if you like, Daryl. Pete, do you want to make sure that the cat flaps closed? It is good. Cool. Thank you. Sorry, cat business. It's very, very difficult wrangling these cats. I got into trouble with Shasha's brother 2 mornings ago, not this morning. I think it was yesterday morning. It's all blurring into a big blur. Because Richard's got them into the habit. He gets up at 6 o'clock and lets them out to go and do their business, whatever cats do at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then they come back in and he does the dishes and feeds them and they have a lovely time. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm not really in the mood for that, particularly when I've been out for a dinner till midnight on Monday night and I had something else the night before. I had a sick dog, not that interested in getting up at 6 o'clock to hang out with the cats. So yesterday morning, I got meowed at and I had the audacity to ignore it. And I then ended up with a paw full of claws in my rump because I turned my back on him. And so then I did what any sensible human being would do, and I obeyed my overlord, the cat, and got up and let him out. But I didn't feed him till at least 7 o'clock just to get back at him. So that's the sort of week I'm having. The Pinot Noir is a highlight. You cannot ignore cats. Absolutely, Fiona. I learnt that they are not shell. They are evil, wicked demons from hell. These cats, they're very mean. They're taking out their frustration that Jill and Richard are not here on me, and I don't think that that's very nice at all because I'm here to be nice to them. I could just leave them here and go home and sleep at my house if I wanted to. Manchego course. Now, Peter and Karen, I hope that's going very well with the Pinot. Polly is fine. Jeff and Sue. Okay, little Polly update. There she is on her sofa, looking a bit flat, but little Polly has had 2 teeth removed yesterday. She's not got very good teeth as a nearly 9-year-old dog, and she had. Yes, all right. The cats are adorable. They're mean and adorable, and I know my place now. I do what the cats tell me to do, and I won't get hurt if I behave myself. Is that correct? I think that's right with cats. But Polly had a general anaesthetic yesterday and 2 teeth removed, and her mouth's a bit sore, and she's a bit groggy, and she had a little mishap this morning that I didn't actually see, but I think she tripped over something and then maybe fell on a stick because she's got a cut under her eye now, poor little thing, but didn't go in her eye and she'll be fine. And she hasn't barked once, so she must be feeling poorly. All right, team, that's enough cat and dog talk. It's probably enough Pinot Noir talk as well, because I think I've run out of things to say about this Pinot Noir, except that it's delicious. And I haven't finished eating my taco because it was too hard to do on screen. So I'm gonna sign off and go and eat my food in private. Well, I've got a little audience here, but not in front of all of you lot. The wine does keep getting better, Coddy. And if you guys have got some more wine in your decanter, in your bottle, in your glass, enjoy it slowly over the next half an hour if you can, because it will keep changing. It'll keep evolving. That is what great Pinot Noir, what great wine should do. I'm so delighted to share this very special Moorooduc Estate McIntyre Pinot with you guys tonight. And for anyone who's not doing this live, doing it sometime in the future, hello to the future, and I hope you enjoy it as well. It's been, yes, Paul and Roz, if you can make it last for a whole hour, it will keep changing for that. I don't expect you to necessarily keep it going for another hour because we've already been going for 43 minutes and 55 seconds. So that's quite a long time to keep a bottle of wine going, even between 2 people. Enjoy it. Enjoy your evening. I will see as many of you who decide to come back to talk about Mezcal next week. If you haven't ordered Mezcal from, thanks, Jack. If you're interested in Mezcal, and you haven't ordered mezcal from Kevin yet, send him an email tonight or tomorrow morning, and he can probably get it in the mail for you. You'll probably get some. If, however, you've left it too late and you just want to kind of join in, you can go down to your local retailer and buy a bottle of mezcal. It won't be this mezcal. It might not be as good. It definitely won't be as good value as this one. But to join in on the drinks and the food matching and the talk, a little mezcal or even a tequila if you can't get a mezcal, they're all part of the same family, and we're going to talk about how they're different and how they're similar next week. I'm going to send you guys some cocktail recipes and some food recipes on Monday, so you can get organized with whatever you want to be eating and drinking next Thursday. If you just want to join us with a beer and a taco, that's cool as well. Be lovely to see you next week. We have officially a buy the following week, and if you want to join, if you want to catch up and do a grape variety, we can do that, or we can have a rest. Box 3 starts on the 30th of May, so you've got 2 weeks without a box, without any need to come and see me, but I'll send out an email about the week after next once I've worked out what my brain's telling me to do. Lovely to see you guys. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your Pinot. Thank you. Glad you've enjoyed it. Cheers. Okay.